been disastrous.
Look, I don't think we progressed from 2022. The Bulldogs have to stick with Ciraldo, even if it means another 2 or 3 years of poor results. I felt like we lacked leadership on the field.
The leader needs to be someone in the forward pack.
Was the problem of 2023 a personnel problem or an attitude problem?
I'd say it's be a personnel. You need seasoned professionals there.
With the NRL season over for 2023, it's time for us to take stock of how the Canterbury Bulldogs season actually went. We had a rookie coach, we had many debutants, we had numerous injuries, we had attitude problems, we came third last on the ladder. But is this season a complete and abject failure? There are many pieces of the puzzle that make up the season that was 2023. Today, what we plan on doing is diving a little bit deeper into those to give an overall review of the season and how we at the Kennel saw the season shaping out. And with me today, as ever, is my trusty co-host Dibbo to help me go through all the details and to help keep me honest. But before I introduce Dibbo, what I would like to do is ask you guys to subscribe and like the video. This really helps us. We've got a lot of content coming out and we're continuously growing. We thank you all for your support, but a little bit more will really, really go a long way. And with that, I'd like to welcome Dibbo. Dibbo, how'd you go?
Oh, mate, good start to the
did I say how'd you go? I mean, how you going? That's probably a better question.
Yeah, look, we thought we'd have a little rest on the footy season, but then the internationals have rolled around.
Oh, well, there were great games on the weekend as well.
Yeah, that was, they were okay. I wouldn't say great, but they were okay. I mean, if it was rugby union, they were great, but the rugby league games were a bit ordinary.
I mean, look, some of those games, Samoa didn't do too badly against Australia. That was a packed Australian team.
I mean, there's another controversy there. It's the whole eligibility rules.
Yeah, I agree.
It's good what Mal's come out and said, choose from the start. No, it's just odd. Last year, Tabuai Fido was playing for Samoa in the World Cup. And now he's playing for Australia.
Yeah.
Whereas Tuolangi was playing for Australia in the World Cup. Now he's playing for Samoa.
Yeah, it's interesting.
What is going on there?
Look, International Rugby League is a bit of a farce. Yeah, they have to fix it, but we're just not big enough as a game to really
they
make
can't
an
have
impact.
Them swapping over from place to place.
Bro, it doesn't really matter. As long as they get to play, it doesn't really matter. Honestly,
they got every side now has got enough talent to field a few sides. Samoa's got a lot of players to choose from. Tonga, New Zealand,
packed teams, man.
Australia always have a lot.
Even PNG. I mean, I know they were versing the Cook Island, but they played well, man.
PNG could field a few sides almost now as well. They're growing.
It's amazing.
You know, Cook Islands, they're closing the gap. They still got a long way to go. They're not a big population, but you know, even Fiji's got a lot more. Yeah. I mean,
honestly, I think we could fill a whole podcast talking about International Rugby League. And, you know, we don't really speak much about, International Rugby League here on this podcast. Let us know, do you guys want us to talk a little bit more about International Rugby League? Do you want us to, discuss the games? Because we're NRL focused, but International Rugby League is something we still enjoy. So if you guys do want us to cover International Rugby League, leave a comment down below. Let us know what your thoughts are on the games and if you'd like us to cover them. Now, Dibbo, I wanted to...
No sugarcoating today, I'll tell you now.
Look, no sugarcoating. We're going to get straight to it. We're going to be very honest. I want to get straight into it, right? I want to start by listing some of the statistics of the Bulldogs in 2023, just to give a level set of how the season played out. So we, out of the 24 games that were played, we lost 17 and we won 7. 5 of those wins came in the first 12 weeks. We won 5 of the first 12 and only 2 of the last 15. Which shows that there may have been a crossover point where the team started to go downhill. Because if you remember, we beat Melbourne in Melbourne in round 2. We were last for line breaks in the whole competition. So worse than the Tigers, worse than the Dragons, worse than the Dolphins. We were last in post-contact meters. And I think everybody's sort of agreed that we have a problem in our forwards and that needs to be rectified. But just to sort of highlight how bad we were when it came to our forwards, we were last in post-contact meters. We were second last with the amount of tries, only above the Tigers, which, with all due respect to the Tigers, you might as well be last. We might as well be last. We were last in total run meters. So not only were we last in post-contact meters, we were last in total run meters. So our forwards were completely lacking in that area. We were worst. We had worst for and against in the league with minus 327 points.
Yep.
We had the most missed tackles, and we only averaged 17.7 points a game.
Was that also the worst attack?
I think the second worst.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, or actually, it may have been the worst.
Worst defence as well.
By far, we had the worst defense.
Jeez, how
by
did he
far.
not end up with the spoon?
I mean,
some of those few upsets you guys sprung out.
look, I mean, if it wasn't probably for the first, 2 wins we had against the Tigers and the Storm, we were very much on the way to another wooden spoon. What are your thoughts on the statistics?
I mean, it just explains itself. How did they not come last? That's the first foremost. It's just frightening. Yeah, they got a rookie coach, but they had rookie players, and that just means a recipe for disaster. I mean, none of those guys put a dent in any of the opposition, and I'm referring to the rookies. So was he the right man for the job? That is a big no. But they got a plan which is more like medium to long term.
So who you are saying was he the right man for the job?
It would have had to be a hardened, seasoned, long term.
You're talking about the coach.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to throw him those sort of players, ain't rookie coach ain't going to get you anywhere. Unless you're willing to stick it out with him for 3 or 4 years with no result, like next to no expectations. All right, gradual improvements every year. I mean, what were they expecting? A rookie coach with a rookie setup. Your squad was a bunch of rookies, really, if you think about it. You had the odd season pro there, here and there, but just too far few in between. And it showed in the second half of the season. I think he's won 2 out of the last 15.
Yeah, that's right.
The depth was really tested. They were literally using half the reserve grade. The reserve grade suffered in return because of that.
So let me give you a list of the players that debuted. Right?
Yeah, it's going to be endless.
Jacob Preston, Khalid Rajab, Ethan Keyward, Blake Wilson, Jarrell Skelton, Carl Olawapu, Jaden Tanner, Samuel Hughes.
That's 8 players?
8 players.
Now, how many besides that have played like less than 15 or 20 games?
Hayes Perham, less than 10 games.
Yep.
Declan Casey, less than 10 games.
Yep.
Harrison Edwards, less than 10 games. Kurt Moran, less than 10 games.
So that's literally almost a whole starting lineup.
That's 15 players, right? 13 players that we used regularly, except like for the likes of like Ethan Keyward and Jarrell Skelton.
Yeah.
Maybe Jaden Tanner only played 1 game, but they made up, a core of our team.
Exactly.
And
that's almost half your squad. So
half the squad.
It's just ridiculous.
So we were never going to get results, I think, with having so many rookies. But also, it's not just about having the rookies.
It was actually a long shot that your results were going to improve on the field with like 8 rookies and about almost half a dozen other players that have played less than a dozen games.
And what I find interesting is, and this is sort of the question I ask you, Dibbo, before we get into the injuries, because there are a lot, but I want to ask you, last year, with Trent Barrett and then Mick Potter, we only won 7 games. And we looked like we ended the season better than we ended this season.
Oh, last year we were going to get the wooden spoon. And then Potter came in and, we've basically a coach who brings the energy and all that. They went on a little winning streak there. And then even the other games they didn't end up winning, they didn't play too badly at all. They were just soundly beaten. Not like they were comprehensively beaten. So it was... and Potter's that seasoned professional.
He's been around a long time.
As a player, he's top of the notch, and as a coach, I mean, he's been there for a good stretch.
Do you think that 2023 was worse than 2022?
Yeah,
from an outsider's perspective.
Look, Potter rescued 2022. 2023 was worse because there was expectation, there's investment in new players, but a lot of shrewd and avid footy fans that observed could see there was a hole there in the playing group. And when I mean a hole, a lack of depth and a lack of experience.
I'm going to get to that in a minute to talk about the personnel that we had. But I want to disagree with you about 2022 being better than 2023.
Oh, yeah, make a case for it. Of course, I'm sure you won't find me really. I won't even object because I was just sitting there thinking, weighing up. That's how bad the last 2 years have been. 2023
had a monumental injury list.
Oh, of course.
I think that needs to be taken squarely into account.
Yeah, but you can't you got to take it into fact that...
I'm with you, but let me tell you, right, the amount of injuries we had and the number of games missed by first graders, right, by regular first graders, right?
Yeah.
So Luke Thompson missed 20 games this year.
He's always missing.
20 games. He played 4 games this year.
And he's missing again next year.
Right? And he's gone now.
Exactly,
right? Yeah. For better or worse. Raymond Faitala-Mariner missed 10 games.
All right.
Even though when he did play, he made 0 meters and a half, which I'll never forget. but he missed 10 games. right?
0 metres.
Ryan Sutton, who we bought at the beginning of the year to be a forward,
24 metres probably.
missed 11 games.
Oh, wow.
Kickow, who was the most high-profile recruit next to Reed Marnie, who was supposed to be the killer on the edge, missed 15 games.
That's a lot.
Right? An experienced centre that we could have had there to potentially replace Paul Alamotti with, Braden Burns, missed 16 games.
That's a lot of games. And
Right.
And when he played well.
And when he played, he did play well, right? Fox missed 9 games.
It's a lot of games.
Fox missed 9 games,
Yep.
right? They're regular first graders that would be in a lot of teams. Maybe Braden Burns, you can make the argument he wouldn't make it to many teams, and maybe Sutton. But regardless of what we had a decimated forward pack. To add to that, Franklin Pele, we bought as a forward, right? Someone we thought could make the barnstorming runs.
Poor recruitment, yeah.
Yeah, no, played average maybe 10, 11 minutes
Yeah.
and only managed, I think it was 6 games.
They didn't get their return on
Yeah.
investment because he ended up leaving.
Yeah, he ended up, well, he's left now to
They
Hull.
wouldn't play him either anyway, so. Yeah.
Who was the other guy that we bought from Manly and then ended up going to the Eels? I forgot his name.
Andrew Davey.
Andrew Davey. He played with us like 3 games and he
I didn't
left.
understand that selection or why either.
So to keep in context why I'm being a little bit less harsh is because we had a monumental injury list, right?
I'm just slaying it on the club as a whole. I'm not making excuses
No,
for anyone.
that's fine. But I'm looking at it as a whole as well.
That's how much
right?
of a failure it was. And, they're not the only club that failed. But, for a club that sets lofty standards and have a history of performing, it's been disastrous on the playing recruitment front, on the coaching staff front. Just gone awry for them, really. I mean, even the coaching methods, or the training methods, rather.
Hang on a second. I disagree with that quite strongly because I think
Yeah, go on.
he's baited me, but I have to take the bait.
Yeah, go for it. Come on.
I don't think that what's come out of, and I want to get to this a little bit later as well because I've got the discussion about personnel versus attitude, but
It had the flow-on effect as well, which
hang
will
on.
get to.
But I don't want to blame Ciraldo for having training methods that are too tough, right? Firstly, because a lot of the ex-players, a lot of current players have come out and said, no, hang on a second, we actually support what Ciraldo's doing. We've been training under Ciraldo in the same methods, and it works. And as we can see with the Panthers, they've now won 3 grand finals in a row.
Yep.
This is not a method that Ciraldo has pulled out of his behind and said, okay, we're going to try this. Right? It's not an unproven method. That's my first discussion point. My other discussion point is that I waffled on for too long. I've forgotten my second discussion point.
Its wheels are falling off, guys. It's going wrong for Canterbury. You got that same coach next year. I just want to point out that what works for Penrith might not necessarily work for Canterbury. They were actually way off the mark in terms of fitness this year. Were they training too hard and then just
and getting injuries? That I think is a different discussion. Though.
And then it's like you didn't have an isolated incident, but you had like a few players were disgruntled, and they went to the media with it. It's not like they had one player; they had more than they had quite a few actually. So
yeah, but it only takes one bad apple to ruin the whole lot.
We'll find out anyway in the long run. I just want to point out, Penrith seem to have over the years have a glorified assistants. I mean, the only man that's stuck there and is still there is Ivan Cleary, and he's still getting the results.
Yeah, he's proving what a great coach he is.
I'm just painting the other picture, but I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat anything. The coaching staff and the management of the club is to be held accountable, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes in the off-season. Have they made any changes to the coaching staff?
They have, yes.
And the management?
So reports have come out that they've recruited Jason Taylor to be one of the assistants for Cameron Ciraldo. Mick Potter's going to stay there as an assistant coach while he coaches the New South Wales Cup.
The only thing is it's a clash of personalities. Jason Taylor in the past has clashed with players and management at a few different clubs, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes with the players at Canterbury. Has he grown as a man to deal with player management?
He's been out of the limelight and hasn't sort of been in and amongst it for a very long time, and has been very successful with the North Sydney Bears.
Yeah, that's all right. That's reserve grade. And it's just interesting to see. I think Taylor replaced Potter at West Tigers.
Did they replace?
I think it was
Was it Taylor or Cleary?
one of I think it was maybe Taylor. I don't think Taylor did a bad job there either.
Yeah.
But I think Jason Taylor is more. I think he's more set. He's more. What's the word for organised?
Look, I understand what you're saying about the assistant coaches and Jason Taylor, but I actually think it all comes down to Ciraldo. Ciraldo has, if you speak to the leadership in the Bulldogs,
I still reckon
other
Jason,
than Raymond Faitala-Mariner, everyone supported Ciraldo quite clearly, quite evidently, and he's got the buy-in from the players moving forward. I would like to think, because we haven't heard anything since.
It'll be interesting to see. It will be interesting to see Jason Taylor in assistant. I also reckon he still harbours a head coaching role, and I'm just starting to think, would he, try to be the more dominant one when dealing with the players? Would the players seem as more as the alpha male, or trying to be the alpha male in the room?
Well, I mean, I don't think Ciraldo will allow that to happen. Ciraldo knows that he's in charge, and he's trying to prove that he's in charge. So I think that's the first thing. The other argument against blaming Ciraldo for this coaching methodology is that I feel like Ciraldo is the first coach we've had in a very long time that's come in with a long-term vision, not trying to achieve quick success. He's got the backing of the board, the backing of the general manager of football, and he's trying, and this is why I don't think it's an overall failure this year, is because, sure, we're in the very beginning of a very long rebuild. That's the first thing. The second thing is, why it's not a failure is because he is now rooting out the bad elements that have been around in the club for a very long time. He's making his mark, and he's not taking a backward step. Not once did he apologise for tough training methods. Not once did he say, I'm sorry for what happened. He's come out and been very, very vocal about supporting the way he's training, and Reid Marnie has come out and supported it. Matt Byrne has come out and supported it. Kickhouse supported it. Previous players that were coached under Ciraldo have supported him. So,
are they falling into an abyss like the West Tigers?
I would like to say that I don't think they're falling into the abyss like the West Tigers. I think that what shaped up to be a very miserable 2023 had so many differing factors, right? Now, we had a massive turnover last year.
Was the recruitment wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
I 100% agree that not only was the recruitment wrong, but Ciraldo this year not only didn't have good enough players to achieve anything, but he also had a lot of rookies that he needs to build, right? And I think you've got to identify
half those rookies. Maybe more, probably won't even have a long rugby league career if I have to be harsh about it. I mean, I know they've debuted for Canterbury, but injuries played that role for them to debut, so I wouldn't be really reliant on them. I know they're better for the experience.
Okay, so of the debutants, right? Jacob Preston.
I'm not. Yeah, okay. He's one that cuts he's from a different cloth.
Blake Wilson.
We'll see how Blake goes. There's abundance of backs out there.
There are abundance of backs, but he's a good, fast,
he might cut it
winging finisher, right? And you saw with the right ball, he has speed, he has determination. Still young, still has a lot of.
Does he have a high work rate? That's what they want.
He has a very high work rate.
They want to mould in the Brian.
Averaging 140, 150 metres in his first year.
At least.
Right? Don't forget that how far he brought Jacob Kiraz along.
Yep.
Right? Let's be honest, right? Jacob Kiraz was playing busted for maybe half the season.
But Jacob, yeah, fair enough. Kiraz is one that will, as long as he stays fit. He's got a high work rate. We all know that. He's in the Brian Ta'o mode. Except for now he's playing in the centres.
Even Carlo Loapu, for the time that he did play, he put on some massive hits and he showed a lot of potential.
Yep.
Right, and you look at him playing. He would have played for Samoa if he wasn't injured, but he's taken some time off to fix some injuries that he's got.
Yep.
So, and then don't forget, Harrison Edwards, I thought came a long way this season under the tutelage of Cameron Ciraldo. I think that even Kurt Moran, right, showed that vigor, showed the ticker, showed just how good he can be coming off the bench as an impact player under the tutelage of Ciraldo, right? And I don't think he could be. You can't really even Khalid Rajab. Sure, he had that one bad game against Newcastle, but he showed a lot of potential, right? He showed a lot of potential. So it's important to not forget the rookies and how far they came under the tutelage of Cameron Ciraldo. I mean, we forgot Paul Alamotti debuted as well.
Yep. He's
gone to the Panthers
already.
He's one of the ones that I don't think maybe progressed as much as we had hoped.
Yep.
Which was a bit of a shame, but just going back, I just feel like this season was a failure, but there are a lot of positives to come out of it, right? Ciraldo is now starting to make some of those decisions around recruitment. Ciraldo is now starting to make some of the decisions around training and around organisation, right? There's only so much you can do in 3 to 4 months sort of in the preseason with, a team that, if you look at TPJ, for example, his comments after leaving rugby league, it just seemed like he really didn't want to be there, right? And I think that would have held the team back quite a bit. Not having Luke Thompson, Viliami kick out. I know we can go back to all this stuff, but there were problems, as well as someone like Raymond Faitala Mariner complaining to the coach about training being difficult. Another player not happy with the type of punishment that they were serving, even though
Where is Jackson Torbini now?
So they haven't really.
Are they going to release him? What's the go there?
So there hasn't really been any information about what's happening there. There were reports coming out that he was going to sue the club, but we're yet to see if.
It's the first time I heard that. Wow.
Oh yeah, there were definitely reports about him wanting to sue the club. So we're yet to see that. But just going over a lot of the different things that happened throughout the season. Look, I don't think we progressed from 2022, but I think overall, if you look at the long term, right, I think we're taking the right steps forward. Now, this is the question, or this is my thoughts on moving forward, right? The Bulldogs have to stick with Ciraldo, even if it means another 2 or 3 years of poor results. We have to stick with Cameron Ciraldo. I think if you look at Adam O'Brien, if you look at even in other sports, it's starting to show, right, that a lot of teams, even Arteta at Arsenal and things like that, you're starting to see that coaches that come into a new team, they need some time to settle. They need some time to build the identity of the club. They need some time to really get acquainted with their players and build the team that they believe they need to achieve success, right? Adam O'Brien at the Knights, I think, it took him some time, but he sort of struck the right.
I don't think they'll emulate it next year, Newcastle.
Look, no, I'm not there to argue that. I'm there to argue success of a coach and how and a coach needing time. Right, not everybody's your, even Wayne Bennett was, wasn't very successful immediately, right?
Wayne, he's probably one of the few.
Craig Bellamy, right? How many Craig Bellamys are there? If you look at it, so it's about thinking if we're going to keep chopping and changing, we're going to rebuild after rebuild after rebuild after rebuild. And I think with Gus Gould there, look, I don't agree with everything that Gus Gould does. In fact, I probably disagree with a lot of what he does, but he's a smart rugby league administrator, and there's no one better to have by your side than Gus Gould when you're rebuilding a club, right? The Panthers have won 3 in a row. I'm not saying that's because of Gus Gould, but that's not in spite of him.
Yes.
Right, he still had a big part to play in that.
Of course, he lays the foundations for a lot of things there.
Yeah. I mean, he did stuff up by getting rid of Ivan Cleary and then bringing him back. So obviously, Gus Gould.
Well, he allowed for him to come back.
It's true, but Gus Gould still needs to have his boundaries, and I think Ciraldo needs to also be very clear on who's in charge. You can't let Phil Gould be in charge, but having Phil Gould there is positive, not a negative. He brings far more positive than he does bring negative, right? That needs to be clear. So I think we're heading in the right direction. Look, the players that we're going to bring on for next year, the rumours of Kurt Mann, Drew Hutchison, Taukeiaho.
I think they're confirmed now, aren't they?
Well, the club hasn't come out with any official press releases yet. But, I mean, it's becoming more and more evident that they're going to come to the club. There's a couple of other players that are rumoured to be coming to the Bulldogs that I don't want to talk about here just because there's not even the journalists have started speaking about it.
Oh yeah, and we know what copycats they are, and they try to claim it as their own.
Yeah, so some of these are happening, and they're very left field signings, which I think will strengthen and bolster the forward pack and help us achieve a little bit better next year. So that's why I think we're moving in the right direction, right? Barring an incredible a miracle where we have the similar amount of injuries next year, we must and we will improve. I think the other thing that needs to be noted is that Toby Sexton will have more time to play in that number 7 role. Is he our number 7 moving forward? My opinion is I think he needs to be given time to earn it. He has all the skill and he has the required assets to be a successful number 7. What do you think?
I think you guys can get a better halfback. I think if one of them came on the market, I don't think he will lead you to premiership glory. I mean, I'm sure he does give it a dig every game.
He's 22.
Yeah, I just don't think I've seen. Yeah, he's only 22, but I mean, it's unfair if you don't give him a chance. So
I think he definitely has all the potential in the world to be not only a great halfback, but a winning halfback. It's just about how does he gel with the team.
It's just, I don't know, it's odd because he was down the pecking order at Gold Coast. He was unwanted by Holbrook, but then Des has come in and, you know.
I strongly believe that if Sexton was still at the Titans, I think Des would have used him as his half
instead of Tanner Boyd.
Yeah,
they were sitting in the 8, I think, when the coach got the sack. So
yeah, and
then I think Tanner Boyd got injured, which then
exacerbated
bad timing by the
it was
Gold
very
Coast.
bad timing. But I do believe that Sexton would have been used by Des Hasler, and I think he would have gotten a lot out of him too, because you don't need your halfback to be incredible when you have the likes of Burton, Marnie, Crichton, Kickout, Kiraz, Fox. You just need him to play that role where he can just make the tough calls, right, and get the ball to where it needs to be. And that's really, like, from a halfback's perspective, if he's great, good. But if he can just do the basics right, that goes a long way.
He might kick on, yeah.
And who knows how he develops. The other thing that I think was a big problem this year that contributed to our failure was I felt like we lacked leadership on the field. Tough for me to say whether Burton and
I don't even
Marnie,
know who your captain was, and I still don't know.
But that's sort of the crux of the problem. We didn't have that strong leadership on the field. Like, sure, Marnie, tries his absolute heart out, as does Burton. But are they the leaders that the Bulldogs need? I don't know. And it's tough for me to make that call, but we lack that genuine spiritual leader. Like,
you need a leader in the four. I know, look, for me, Josh Adokar felt like he was the leader, but he's out on the wing.
Yeah, it's hard to really make a difference.
It's hard to really manage, and like half the time he's screaming out from the sides. I think your captain needs to be, and your leader needs to be someone in the forward pack.
Well, I mean, you would like to think that someone like Viliami Kikau would have been...
He was out injured for large
But he was
chunks.
out
I thought Jacob Prestons could have probably led the team around in his first year, and it felt like that.
Oh, he was incredible. And the team was rallying behind him. Sometimes was the go-to man.
I think they should have just given him the captaincy.
Nah, too young to give him the captaincy.
He's 21.
It was his first year, first grade, having played 0 games.
Nathan Kalis was captain Parramatta at 21.
Yeah, but how many games had Nathan Kalis played by then? Don't forget, this year was the first year, and he debuted.
And this guy seemed just as mature.
I'm not against that.
And it seems like he's already a better player.
He's an excellent player, and I think he will kick on to be one of the Bulldogs' greats. But just yet to give him captaincy, I think is a irrational call, in my opinion. But that's where I think our biggest problem is that we lacked real leadership on the field. Is Viliami Kikau the guy? Is potentially Talkeaho, if he comes, is he the guy? It's tough to say. Is there a younger guy that's going to come up and be aggressive and be, vicious on the field in terms of, being a forward and then be able to take the lead? I don't know. It's just...
Takiao playing that grand final on the weekend.
Yeah, he did. He made 20-something tackles, over 100 metres.
Oh, so he had a decent game.
Yeah, he definitely had a decent run.
Takiao at the Roosters do 260 metres and probably like 30 tackles. His run metres were crazy.
He had a good dig, for sure.
On Anzac Day, he'd absolutely kill it every game.
He had a good dig. So, it's that void that Ciraldo needs to figure out how to fill, right? Because right now, our forward stocks are looking quite thin. Like, we've got Liam Knight, we've got Max King,
if
Sam...
Takiaho's fit, it looks a lot better.
Yeah, 100%. But we still need to bolster that forward pack.
You didn't sign any. Not really. He's lost Thompson, who was started to string games together.
Alex Twal has re-signed with the Tigers.
That's probably better for you guys.
The one I could have seen potentially coming to the Doggies was maybe Sean Kepi from Manly, but apparently he's signed with the Rabbitohs. I'm not sure what the situation is there.
How
Why
do
we're
these
not
sides
signing
find
them.
room in their cap? Like they seem to upgrade their other players and then somehow sign these.
Yeah,
players.
look again.
I'm just, I don't understand.
But I mean, the Bulldogs seem to have, with the loss of Thompson and TPJ, should have at least $2.5 million in the cap easily
Yeah, they should have a decent amount of money. You're right.
to sign 2 or 3 marquee players. And that's without even considering, the signing of Crichton, Jamin Salmon, Blake Taff, and then if we sign Tauke Aho, Kurt Mann, and Drew Hutchison, it's looking a little bit better, but I'm still worried that our forwards are going to be too thin, way too thin. Like we don't have the depth in the forwards that we need, and that's because if you look at what our problem was, is we didn't have a top 30, we had a top 15, right? Everything else was made up of rookies.
You had like a half a squad. You're right.
We had half a squad really, and with the HIA protocols, with the crackdown on the hip drop and that, everything was it was a beautiful conspiracy or a beautiful storm of failure for the Bulldogs, which is why I understand why Ciraldo and Gould are sort of going after and trying to sign a lot of these guys that can fill multiple roles, because they're trying to build out potentially a top 30 as opposed to a top 17. And I'm 100% on the board with that, because we need experience. That's what I think we need. Now, one thing I want to discuss about 2023 is this question that I've had for a while that I've been thinking about. Was the problem in 2023, and sort of it's a beautiful segue, we're talking about our top 17 versus top 30, and then we go into this discussion about attitude versus personnel. Was the problem of 2023 a personnel problem or an attitude problem?
I'd say it's be a personnel to begin with. I mean, more than an attitude. You don't have the personnel there, so I mean, what positives are even going to come out of it to begin with? Like, how's that going to uplift the attitude all around them? If you're already outgunned in the in the whole personnel stakes, like the troop stakes, you're going to turn around and say, you're going to look around and, for example, you're going to have fighting on one side, you're going to have the American Army, and then you're going to look on the other side, you're going to have the East Timorese Army in terms of talent and all that. Of course, you're not going to have the attitude afterwards if you're the East Timorese Army, which in this case is Canterbury.
So what you're saying is the lack of great personnel created very low morale and thus contributed to the poor attitude.
Of course. You're going to need leaders. You're going to need...
That's a great point.
You're going to need seasoned professionals there, proven players. You're going to need, you're going to walk in and think, from management, coaches, the players, you're going to need basically,
warriors.
Yeah.
Absolute warriors to be by your side. And you think
you had some has-beens there. No, I'm not saying you had a few. Like, for example, you had Andrew Davey, Ryan Sutton to start there.
Josh Reynolds.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, no disrespect. These guys are first graders, but I'm just giving it in the terms of compared to other clubs because it's so competitive out there. Oh, Canterbury's going on a recruitment drive. Do you honestly think there's 10 other teams that don't have the same amount of cap in their space in their cap? I guarantee you, I'll find you 4 or 5 straight away. Even throw the Roosters in there because they got the endless salary cap. But honestly, there's other sides that generally got the same amount of cap space Canterbury have. It's so competitive.
Because look, I agree with you, but I'm asking.
You're gonna need the personnel to attract other players.
What I'm asking is, if you look at the Knights, for example, when we lost to them 66-0, we were almost on even footing in terms of competition points. Yeah. They went on to come 6th. We went on to come 3rd last.
Yeah, that was
right.
Yeah, that was a disaster.
Right. If you look at the difference between us and them, it was all about attitude.
They got a better playing group, but much better squad. Look how stacked their forward pack is.
I mean, they have Kalen Ponga, right? They have Kalen Ponga. They have...
other than that, they got a pretty shit spine. I was just reiterating Willie Mason.
Yeah, but they do. No, they do, right? They do have a shit spine. The only place that they beat us is...
Go, Willie.
Their forwards with the Saifidi brothers.
Hopefully Tyson
right?
Gamble's watching.
But if you look at their 9, they had an unproven 9. We have a proven 9. Even their fullback was better than ours, obviously, because they had Kalen Ponga. We had Hayes Perham. But then...
Non-contest, no contest. Yeah.
But then overall, Leo Thompson, up until this year, really wasn't a proven forward.
But because they got...
The only second row that they had, for example, Fitzgibbon, who was okay, and then Tyson Frizzell.
Yeah, but Fitzgibbon's he'll fit in on basically every NRL side. I'm not saying he's a starter, but he's very good. He was on the fringes.
I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he's bad.
Yeah, but they got Frizzell. But then you had the Saifidi twins as well.
Yeah, the Saifidi twins and Leo Thompson.
And then you had, I don't even know their names, but if you bring up the squad, I'll just point out the players. Like you go, okay, I see they got a really solid forward pack.
But nothing that's infinitely better than the Bulldogs.
But,
like they went on to win 10 games in a row.
But they had a much better squad overall in terms of depth.
But see, their 7 was injured for a majority of that run, right?
Canterbury?
No.
I mean, sorry,
Knights.
Hastings.
Yeah, Hastings. They had Adam Clune there, who's a fringe first grader.
Yeah, but in that team, as I pointed out earlier, Callum Ponga, he plays fullback and he controls the
I'm with you. I'm not. I'm saying
that's what I'm saying. Without him, they had a shit spine.
I'm saying he's a big part of why they did well. Massive part, right?
They got a shit spine.
He won the Dally M.
Without him, they got a shit spine, yeah.
But again,
Willie wasn't wrong.
It doesn't change the fact that their wins were all attitude. It wasn't because they weren't performing very well before. They were just as bad as we were, almost.
That was just weird. It's like they need a awakening because they got the twin bombers on the wings in Marju and the big Brit. What's his name? Dominic Young.
Yeah,
like, they're just like you had Bash Brother, whatever, Wrecker 1 and Wrecker 2. You know, they had the Wreckers from.
Yeah, but our backline wasn't that
bad. And
bad.
then you had Bradman Best, who somehow wasn't getting early ball, and then all of a sudden went from not getting early ball to getting early ball.
But that's my point. What was the difference? It was attitude. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that somewhere along the line, before we played the Knights and got absolutely demolished 66-0.
They got players of potential. You know,
so do the Bulldogs.
Not of this, and I'll stick by it. Not of their potential. Of their
where we lacked was the forwards. But even then, right, we had injuries. So
their forwards are big boppers,
Bro, are you telling me TPJ couldn't have been a great forward?
Well, you didn't show it.
No, but that's my point. But that's what I'm getting to. I'm saying that it was all about attitude. Something there was rotten.
And that's the problem. There was the rotten.
If we had better attitude,
recruitment.
Hang on. If we rocked up, if the same players that we had in 2023, right? Let's say, for argument's sake, right? We didn't have as many injuries. Let's say half the injuries, right? And they shut up with the same attitude that the Newcastle Knights did for the last 10 rounds. Do we win all those games? I think we win at least some.
Your recruitment was rotten. I'm sorry, I'm being
no, it's fair.
But TPJ, he pulled the plug on you guys, so that goes under the rotten recruitment.
A pointless waste of money. With all due respect to TPJ,
no, because he chose to do his own thing, and I'm not being harsh on TPJ.
No,
in terms of Canterbury having players being there for the long term, it was a rotten recruitment.
I'm with you, and I'm not attacking TPJ, but I'm saying for the Bulldogs, it was a waste.
He was hot and cold for the Dogs, and there's no denying that. And then you had, or at this stage, we're just talking short term. We're not talking long term. But Kikau looked like a rotten recruitment because he was missing most of the year.
But it's the injury that he can't control.
Oh no, I'm just saying for short term. I'm just giving you. If we're basing off this
season, but you can't make those recruitment calls on a short term basis.
I'm just saying for this year.
You want to say TPJ was a bad recruitment call? I agree. Pele, bad recruitment call? Yes. Sutton, yes. Davey, yes. But Viliami Kikau,
obviously, I'm just basing him off this year. I'm not going to say because I was saying long term. We don't know who because he's a gun. He's won 2 premierships. He's
incredible.
He's one of the best second rowers in the game. He's hard to stop. But just off this year, let them down. Obviously, it's not in his control what happened. But yeah, you just pointed out the others. There were 5 or 6 spots that you probably could have went out and got players such as, I think, who was Manik, what's his name? Niokora. You probably could have went for him. He went to the Warriors.
Yeah, but I think he wanted to go back home.
Oh, okay.
But either way, I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing that the recruitment was poor, but I am also saying that with the team that we had, we should have done much better.
And North Queensland Cowboys, another team, they got an abundance of second rowers.
We should have done better.
Thrown that money to entice
we should have done better with the players that we had. The review that I'm bringing forward is that our results were unacceptable.
But who were your starting second rowers? Who would they have been?
Preston and Kikau.
All right, and then who's to back them up?
We had Corey Waddell.
Yep.
Who I thought, for not being not flash, he was okay.
He's not going to compete with most of the NRL
but he did well. He covered well.
That's where he's lacking. See.
And then we had Curtis Moran, Harrison Edwards.
He's had He's had a half a squad.
We didn't have a full squad.
He's had half a squad, literally.
But every team has these problems. Every team bloods rookies. We had to blood a lot more, admittedly, but it's unacceptable the results that we have.
And half of those won't see more than 20 or 30 first grade games.
I mean,
don't think.
we have some good names there, man. Good names there that have played international rugby league, which doesn't say much, but yeah, I want to point out that in 2023, despite the issues, if our attitude wasn't so poor and players weren't having a whinge about the training and just sucked it up and pushed hard, I actually think we would not have declined so badly.
All right, next year I can see he's recruited decently in the back line. He's got Crichton, he's got Taff. I think they're two most significant recruitments. Who have he's got in the forward pack besides? All right, Liam Knight came this year in Takiaho. Have he's got anyone else?
Not really.
He's
Max King.
And that's what I meant. He's a lucky, and then he's lost Thompson, so he's still. And I kept stressing on it. You need 2 or 3 more front rowers. I feel
absolutely. And I think next year that'll show as well that if the attitude's better,
I still think he'll get some sort of improvement. But it's just like what's 15th to 13th or 4th,
Well, to be honest, it's not just about the spot on the ladder. It's also about how are you losing? Are you losing by big margins? Are you competitive? Right? Are you showing potential? Like if we came 15th this year, but we all our games were by 2 or 4, we showed real competitiveness and attitude throughout the whole year.
Yep.
No one would be upset with that. But it was the decline. Like in the last 8 games, we had 360 odd points scored against us.
Jeez.
That's an attitude problem, bro. You can't tell me that's a personnel problem.
That's also a squad problem as well.
But I mean, even with Kickow and Thompson back,
he's got the personnel and he's got the attitude.
It was just
it was a double whammy.
So it was both, not just one.
It was both, yeah.
I mean, we sort of. I want to just speak about a positive. One topic that I think is very controversial for people, but they don't really understand it, is the question of is Matt Burton a 5'8", right? Now here's the one stat that I think proves he is a 5'8".
I think he'd be gun in a sentence, but anyway, let's hear you.
16 try assists behind a very, very poor pack with so many injuries.
But he's one of them. He's pretty much their main playmaker. Of course, he's going to have those stats.
What do you mean by that, though?
Just like
if you threw but if you threw a centre. Out and out centre that can't play 5'8". Hang on. Yeah. That can't play 5'8". He wouldn't get 16 try assists.
Your halfbacks that he's had this year combined, how many assists did they have?
I'm not sure. Because I know that Burton played halfback for a while. Flanagan had a few try assists. Sexton has it. Yeah. So my point is
did anyone else play halfback?
Kyle Rajab.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he had a few.
Yeah, so it's like,
He had 16.
Yeah,
not bad.
For such a disrupted season, moving positions and having to do so much of the hard, tough stuff.
But all the play goes through him pretty much. He's your dominant playmaker. Wouldn't you expect him to have 30?
We were only averaging 17 points a game.
Dear oh dear.
So for him to have that many tries is it's. You know where I'm coming from? It's you've got to give Burton the ability to prove himself in that position.
I just think because I've seen him play centre, he's just
everyone's seen him play centre, bro. Everyone's seen him play centre. We know how good he is in the centres. But he's also a gun at 5'8".
He's a gun centre.
His kicking game has come a long way. He just doesn't have the personnel around him or the attitude around him to There were so many times where he would kick and get a ball or try and throw a pass and they just weren't there for it. You look at how many tries he set up for the Fox because the Fox is there for it with the speed and the energy. It comes off.
Fox makes anyone look good.
But what Burton does to make to set up those tries is not easy either. You can't take that away from Burton. Yeah, the timing, everything about the kicks.
We'll know next year. I think Elmo will stop pulling off excuses by next year.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't think so.
I feel like doing a "Where Are They Now" segment and dropping Lachlan Lewis. Where is he?
I don't know, man.
Jeez.
Look, I want to end off with a positive for the season of 2023.
Yep.
The first one being Jacob Preston. This guy was the shining light of 2023. He's won all the awards. Should have been Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, for the NRL. He played 20 games. He was off with suspension and a couple with injury. 10 line breaks. Average run meters, 94 meters, 38 average tackles a game, right? 96% tackle efficiency for a guy playing in his first year. That is astounding, and I think he's only going to get better.
Yep.
That's my opinion. Another one that I thought came a long way was Jacob Kiraz. I thought he showed some great signs for us first half of the season when he wasn't playing busted, and I think he's going to go back to being incredible when he gets back to full fitness. Gerald Skelton, I thought for the 2 or 3 games that he played, showed immense potential, and Blake Wilson. None of them are forwards, admittedly, and forwards is where we're lacking, but. And we'll cover this off in our 2024 preview when we get around to doing that. But I have some ideas on what the season's going to look like.
Yep.
And that's something that will come in the next couple of weeks. With that, I think we've come to the end of our 2023 season review.
Yep.
Was there anything you wanted to add before we?
Well, what are we expecting the Dogs to go next year, or is that in the preview?
That'll be in the preview, but spoiler, we're going to be top 8.
All right. What about a review from the fans' point of view? And
yeah, so I was going to say this is just our opinion, something that we've cobbled together. Please comment on things, respond, give us your opinions. Attack our poor opinions, like our right opinions. Share this podcast with your friends. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Be sure to like us on Instagram, and give us your thoughts on everything that we share. We're on Twitter as well, where you can communicate with us directly. We'd really love to hear your thoughts about how you think we went. If you haven't made it to the deep end, love to thank you again for all your support. Whoever you're supporting in the Pacific Championship, best of luck to your team. And let us know what you guys are doing in the off season. How you got what sport are you following in the off season? And also let us know in the comments. Are you guys avid cricket watchers? We love our cricket as well. Are you guys watching the Rugby Union World Cup? Leave all those down below in the comments, and we'll definitely love to communicate about them a little bit more. Anything else, Dibbo?
No, that'll do.
Thank you so much. If you joined us, be sure to like, subscribe, and we hope to catch you again next week. Thank you very much.
Adios.